Well, hiya, fellas. Hang on. Boom, there we go. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the weekly political taboo subject stream. If you're just joining us, you know good and well that the vast majority of our streams on this channel are video game streams. We call them gabbing and gaming streams, but once a week, we do political streams about all sorts of things. Politics, taboo subjects. We got a barn burner this week, folks. I'm glad you're here. The Discord is open. You can call in throughout the show and discuss, debate, as long as you're kind. You can be passionate. You can be fiery, but can't be a goddamn asshole. But I'd love to hear your take. I'm sure we're not going to agree on a lot of things today, but we don't have to agree to remain pals. Isn't that the whole point of America? Now, listen to me. There's something going on in the country right now. And it's more important than COVID. It's more important than the Donald Trump tapes. Believe it or not, folks, it's more important than cuties. There's a shortage on Diet Coke. First, I thought it was an aluminum shortage because of the COVID. And that may be the case, but I can't find Diet Coke cans. So then I turned my attention to the Diet Coke 2-liter bottles. I figured, well, that would get me through the pandemic that we're all suffering through. I went to the goddamn Ralph's grocery store last night. I can't find that. So on this very stream, this is what I've been reduced to. It's called Big K Diet Cola. I don't know what the fuck this is going to taste like, but it's got the red and the white and it at least looks like Diet Coke. So here we go. You're going to see it live. Here we go. Here we go. Let's see what it tastes like. I don't know, man. If this tastes like Dr. Pepper, I'm going to fucking blow a goddamn gasket. Hang on, fellas and fillettes. All right, here we go. Big K, says Afrally. Afrally, by the way, thank you for this first super chat of the day. It's very kind. It's very generous. You know we appreciate it here. We're going to use that money to save up and buy a bulletproof vehicle. It's not true, but I do appreciate the cash. Thanks, man. That's not good. Diet Coke's never good, but anyway, it is what it is. No, there's no sugar. It's just Diet Coke. I'm going to have to drive across the border to get some Diet Coke. Fellas, fillettes, listen. Here's what we're talking about on today's stream. We're going to first kick it off by talking about Donald Trump's tapes with Bob Woodward, the famous, iconoclastic reporter, Bob Woodward, who was one of the two reporters, along with Bernstein, who blew open the Watergate case and got Richard Nixon to resign. If you don't know, I'll play you a couple of the excerpts from the tapes that came out this week. Donald Trump called Bob Woodward 19 times for a book on Donald Trump and his presidency. And he knew he was on tape. And here's the shit he said. Let's talk about how it's going to affect things, if at all. My gut says it's not going to affect a goddamn thing. We're going to talk about that and why. Then, of course, we're going to talk about cuties. I watched it last night in preparation for this stream. I have thoughts. I think people are fucking morons. We're going to talk about this very important and actually very good movie in a little bit. Hopefully you've watched it. If not, settle in. It's an interesting film. We got a lot to talk about in there. And then I saw something on the internet the other day that made me believe there is no God. And then a couple of seconds later, right when my brain said there is no God because of what I just saw, I saw something else on the internet that made me say, well, hang on, maybe there is a God, and that's a message. I'm an atheist. I'm an agnostic, but I'm an open-minded fella. And I'm always looking. If there's a God, that's great. I got no proof, but this is the kind of stream we discuss things like that. Plus anything else you want to talk about that's taboo, that's weird, that you feel like you can't talk about to anybody else but your Papa Jaffe, I'm here for you and here for that discussion. So Fear Kratos comes in and says God is real. Okay. We don't have to have that part of the discussion anymore, folks. At least cut off 20 minutes of the stream because Fear Kratos has already solved it for us. He says God is real. Fair enough. Okay. Here we go. Dave, I love your open-mindedness. It's too rare these days, says Trey. You gots to be open-minded. You have to be. And let's get into that with what's happened with the Trump tapes. Okay, so let me bring these up if you haven't heard these goddamn things. By the way, I have this stream set on low latency today, so I should be getting a pretty good immediacy of your chat. So hopefully I will, because I know the other day we were having a really weird delay problem. All right, so this is only 1 minute and 55 seconds. I will not speak during it. These are the two highlights that Donald Trump said on tape of his own accord. He knew he was being recorded. Bob Woodward said, I'm writing a book on you. The first time Bob Woodward wrote a book on Trump, Trump was pissed because it was like, hey, why didn't I get interviewed? His people were like, no, it's a bad idea. Bob Woodward's going to fuck you over if you basically open your mouth. You should just shut the fuck up, Trump. He says, fine. This time Trump's like, no, I want to get in there and mix it up. I can convince him I'm a goddamn genius. Fine, whatever. So he calls him 19 times, 18 times, I think. There's like a shit ton of footage. But out of all the footage that people have combed through, these are the two most damning, if you believe this sort of thing, or irrelevant, but overplayed bits from the tapes that Bob Woodward said. By the way, he's on 60 Minutes tonight. He has agreed with 60 Minutes not to reveal other parts of the tape. So it's possible by the time this stream is wrapping up, we will have new content of what Donald Trump said to Bob Woodward, because Woodward promised exclusivity of certain aspects of the book to 60 Minutes. So there could be some even more heated shit coming down the line tonight. But here we go. I'm going to shut the fuck up for a minute and 55 seconds. I want you to listen to this. And then after we play it, we're going to...
And so what was President Xi saying yesterday?
Well, we were talking mostly about the virus, and I think he's going to have it in good shape, but, you know, it's a very tricky situation.
Indeed
It goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. You know, the touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. You know, people don't realize we lose 25,000, 30,000 people a year here. Who would ever think that, right?
I know.
It's pretty amazing. And then I say, well, is that the same thing? This is more deadly. This is 5 per, you know, this is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%. You know, so this is deadly stuff. Now it's turning out it's not just old people, Bob. Just today and yesterday, some startling facts came out. It's not just older
yeah, exactly.
young people, to plenty of young people.
So give me a moment of talking to somebody, going through this with Fauci or somebody who kind of it caused a pivot in your mind, because it's clear just from what's on the public record that you went through a pivot on this to, oh my God, the gravity is almost inexplicable and unexplainable.
Well, I think, Bob, really, to be honest with you,
sure, I want you to.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes,
because I don't want to create a panic.
Okay, there you go. So those are the aspects of the tapes that have been the most played, the most problematic, according to people who think they're problematic. Look, I'm not going to convince you here nor there whether this is bad or not. I don't like Trump, so I'm predisposed to think it's bad. Intellectually, I'd like to think, even if I liked Trump, I would think this is bad. Here's a guy that has said, and I can play you the clips if you don't believe me, this stuff, he when he knew this, afterwards, he was like, open the schools. Kids don't get it. Kids are almost impervious to this. When he knew this, he was saying it's the flu. When he knew this, he was saying, we don't really need to wear masks. I don't really recommend it. I'm not going to wear a mask, right? He knew this was airborne. He's on record saying this, and we're almost about a day away from having 200,000 Americans dead. We're losing 1,000 Americans a day, and we have about 40,000 cases that go active every single day in America. Okay, so the thing that fascinates me more than anything about this is how this probably won't move the needle, right? And I want to talk about that. I mean, we can talk about these tapes, but I don't think if you're a Trump supporter, this is going to matter. I think the way they're spinning it right now is they say, oh, well, Trump didn't want to cause a panic, right? And the counter argument to that, which I think is a pretty good one, is two things. One of them is they say, well, you have no problem causing a panic with everything else you say. You have no problem talking about how the suburbs are going to be overrun by low-class black thugs and protesters. You have no problem saying that if we elect Joe Biden, it's going to be an apocalyptic landscape and a destroyed landscape wasteland of America. You can panic us all live long day, but suddenly on this you choose not to. That's one critique against his spin. The other one is a lot of Republican talking points come out and they say, or not Republican, but administration talking points come out and say, oh, well, he's being responsible. You don't yell fire in a crowded theater. And I thought Chuck Todd today on Meet the Press had a great comeback to that, where he says, yeah, you don't yell fire in a crowded theater unless the theater is actually on fire. And in this case, the theater is on fucking fire. But all of that said, I don't think this is going to make, don't you think that this should cause at least a meaningful percentage of Trump supporters to say, I may not vote for Biden. I'm not going to become a Democrat all of a sudden. I may look at third-party people more seriously. I may stay home. But if you're a Trump supporter and you hear this, let alone a week ago where pretty much based on things he said in the past, that he also called the military losers and people who died and went to fight for the country and died in Iraq, Vietnam, World War II, World War I. He called those people suckers. Where's your bottom with this guy? Or is it the fact that this is Democratic spin, this is Joe Biden spin, and this stuff really isn't as bad, and because I tend to lean left, I'm really, this is a big deal, and you guys are like, dude, this is just more smokescreen bullshit. I'm gonna go to the chat. Because I have a meta question on top of this about why we are this way, but I want to get a sense of you guys' view on this. So 9 Lives says it's Democratic spin. Okay, I think that's fine that you believe that, and my mind is open to the fact that it might be, but explain that to me, 9 Lives. Why is the fact that, okay, so Donald Trump is on tape, his own words. You could even go back to the thing he said about the military, or allegedly said, and said, well, we don't have any proof of that. You do have proof that he called John McCain a loser. You do have proof that he said he likes war heroes that aren't captured. You do have proof that he has continually denigrated the FBI, the CIA, the NSA. But let's be totally let's be demanding and say, no, if we don't have proof, it didn't happen. Fair enough. But now 9 Lives, you have proof that this guy said what he said. So when you're saying it's Democratic spin, I think that's great. I'm open-minded to that. I want to understand that. But what is it about, what are the Democrats spinning? He said it. Robert said Trump wasn't worried about panicking the country. He was worried about panicking the stock market. Well, that's what I think. That's what I see. But again, as much as it's easy to paint the other side of the political spectrum as idiots, they're not idiots. Liberals aren't idiots, and Republicans aren't either. There are some idiots amongst all of us. But there are smart, educated, or even if they're not educated, there are smart, critical thinking Republicans. And they won't leave this guy's side. I'm trying to fucking figure it out. I agree, James Gilchrist. Trump openly you're being dramatic, Gilchrist, but Gilchrist says Trump just openly confessed to murder. I don't think he confessed to murder. He probably confessed to manslaughter. Manslaughter is when somebody dies and you don't mean it to happen, but you still are responsible for it. I think it was manslaughter. I don't think it was homicide. I don't think it was murder. Ultimately, what should turn any singular American around, says Dwarman, against Trump is that his impeachment defense perfectly matched Augustus Caesar's senatorial defense that led to erosion of their republic. I would have to guess, Dwarman, that any singular American, 98% of them have no idea who Augustus Caesar is, let alone the fact that if you said to them, why did Rome fall? Give me the main reason Rome collapsed as a civilization, as the once greatest civilization on the planet, they would be like, Rome. That's in Italy? That right? So I think you're asking a little bit too much, given that we have been educated relatively poorly these days in America. Metallic says Biden or Trump, they're both idiots and creeps who both assaulted women. Okay, maybe that's true. But ultimately, one of them is going to be president, right? So if you're basically saying America under Trump is what you want, or America under Biden is what you want, that's totally fair and totally fine. But saying they're both idiots and creeps, sure, that's probably true to some degree. Anybody in those positions of power, more often than not, you'd be surprised by the shit they do behind closed doors. Thomas says, anything you hear is always going to be exaggerated by the news outlets, so you'd never be able to trust anything. I understand. 9 Lives. Okay, see, so 9 Lives, I need a real answer from you. 9 Lives says, Pelosi told everyone to come to Chinatown early during the pandemic. Pelosi's not the goddamn president of the United States. Pelosi doesn't get debriefed by all the information that Donald Trump has. I'm not saying there aren't other people that made mistakes, but Pelosi did not. We have no evidence that Pelosi was given the information that this shit is really dangerous, and then she chose to go into the public to her constituents and lie about it. What does that have to do with what Donald Trump said? Frosty says it's like flat earthers. Even when shown proof they themselves come up with, they'll bury themselves deeper in their defense. I mean, look, that is absolutely what it sounds like. But I know we have some Trump voters on here. I know we have some Trump supporters on here. I don't have a problem with that. They've always been welcome here. I haven't usually agreed with them, but I'm just curious. But I'm looking at the chat. I don't see anybody who's defending this guy. And so, but I guarantee you the polls aren't going to shift dramatically come next week. Hello, Anthony. Good to see you, sir. Chris Dugan says Trump ruined the country after Obama fixed it. I mean, you're not going to find somebody who disagrees with the fact that Trump's a nightmare in me. I'm not voting, says Couch. Why not? Why would you not vote? Okay, Wolfblood, you're voting Green Party. Fair enough. Why is Trump doing well, says Quiet Night. This is what I'm trying to find out. I'm trying to find out from you guys what it is about Donald Trump and his supporters. Let me jump to the meta, because I'm not getting anything from the chat. I'm disappointed in you guys. I was hoping some Trump supporter in the chat would say, Jaffe, let me explain to you why this is absolute bullshit, okay? I'm not getting any of that. So I guess either we're all in agreement, or the Republicans who are in the chat or the Trump supporters in the chat simply don't have anything to say, and they're like, yeah, no, you got me. You know, I mean, I'm not trying to get you. I'm just trying to understand. So here's the meta of it, right? The meta of it, in my opinion, really comes down to this. It is no different than when I was a band geek against the football jocks in high school. I don't think we really change. I think when you're 16, 17, 18, I think at that point, you have subtle changes, but you are who you are. My gut tells me that people who like Donald Trump respond and recognize within him something that they like about themselves with his braskness, is that a word? His brutishness, his bullying, his bull in a china shop mentality. I think that goes to the heart of the appeal of him more than his policies. Because I think someone like me who's a lefty liberal, I look at Joe Biden, and I don't agree with all of Joe Biden's policies, but I like that the guy listens to science. I like he's educated. I like he's a critical thinker. I like that he's more beta than someone like Donald Trump, and that he will surround himself with people to help him. He doesn't have to be the top dog in every conversation. It may simply come down to, as much as we want to say we're intellectual creatures, maybe a lot of people in America, let's assume like 80% on the right and 80% on the left, are incapable because of their poor education of being able to be that rare political bird that says, I know I like this guy at an emotional gut level, but I'm able to be in the center and listen to both sides and make logical decisions regardless of who I emotionally attach to. My guess is the vast majority of people who vote and support either candidate, it's a purely emotional choice. And I think ultimately that comes down to bad education. It comes down to poor media education in classrooms, poor civics education. The chat says, do you like that he has dementia? Which one has dementia? People have said both of them have dementia. Do you know what I saw So 9Live, see, this is what I'm saying. 9Live says Biden has dementia and he won't last 4 years. Okay, I don't really think you're that good of it. I'm going to be honest with you, 9Lives. I'm glad you're here. I love you always come to the streams, but let me help you out here. If you really want to engage in genuine discussion with someone, be it me or someone in the chat that cares about these topics and isn't just looking to score stupid fucking childish points, you cannot hit me with talking points, okay? If Joe Biden has dementia, and there's no evidence of that, if you've seen Joe Biden lately, I mean, hell, even Trump went so far as to say that he thinks Biden is on performance-enhancing drugs because suddenly he's so different now than he was in the debates. And that's true, by the way. The last 2 months of Joe Biden, he's been a totally different candidate. Is it drugs? I don't know. I don't care. If you're basically saying Biden has to be on performing enhancement drugs to basically be in his right mind, I'd rather have that than someone like Donald Trump, who's basically willing to lie to the American people about the goddamn severity of the pandemic. But you basically saying he has dementia, you need to offer up proof. I could tell you that Donald Trump was sent to Walter Reed Hospital 8 months ago because he had a stroke. And Mike Pence was put on standby because they thought Trump might die. All of that has been reported in the news. Do I have evidence of that? I have more evidence of that than you have of the fact that Joe Biden has dementia. So if you really want to engage in the conversation, you got to come with some quality data. You can't just say shit. Biden has accomplished nothing in his almost 5 decades in politics, Michael Day says. Okay, that may be true. Okay, I'll come back to you, 9Lives. That may be true, Michael Day. I don't know if I agree with that, but here's what I'll tell you. Joe Biden, in his 5 years in politics, if you're basically saying he's done nothing but make sure the country doesn't burn down, I mean, he's never been president. But if what you're basically saying, Michael Day, and I'm down with this, I respect this if this is your view, but what you're saying is your take on Donald Trump is that you have enjoyed the last 4 years and you enjoy where we're at as a country now. And that, to you, you would rather have 4 more years of what we have now, whether it's the protest, the animosity, the divide, a president that lies to you about critical health issues, whatever it is. You would rather have that for 4 more years than a politician who, while may not have done amazing things in the last 5 years, certainly has not caused the kinds of damage that Donald Trump has caused. Is that basically what you're saying, Michael Day? Which is, again, totally fine. I won't agree with you, but I will absolutely respect if someone says, you know what? I am more engaged with a politician that fucks up badly, but at least they leave a mark. I'm like, I think that's crazy, but I appreciate that that's your perspective. Does everyone forget all the riots that happened under Obama? Panda Forever, I have. What riots are you referring to? Panda Forever is saying that these riots happened under Obama. Trey Trimble says all of the riots are in Democrat-run cities, which I find curious. Can you name me more than 3 big cities that are not Democrat-run cities? Most cities are Democratic-run cities. Most cities have mayors that are Democrats. Most small towns and southern towns have mayors that are Republican. But ultimately, I mean, again, Trey, you know I love you. You know I love you. But even that, Tea Party riots did not start under Obama. No, they did not, Daniel. Tea Party was before Obama. Absolutely. Go look it up. I'll be here, sir. Let me tell you something. The riots in Democratic cities. I mean, you can think, I can prove it to you if you need to see the internet. Portland was down and settled more until the feds came in under Trump. And then it exploded. You had the moms marching, the veterans marching. You had the Navy SEAL get the shit beaten out of him. They broke his hand. Once the feds left, go look up the news. Portland's back to about 200 people every night. Now, I'm not saying there aren't bad apples in these riots. There absolutely are. Not right. The riots are bad. I'm in the protest. But the idea that, they're Democratic cities. No one's looting and protesting in Republican cities. What Republican city? Which Republican city? Phoenix Left says the Tea Party started from a disapproval of establishment Republicans. That's right. That's absolutely right. The Tea Party was kicked off because of Obamacare. No, it wasn't. Obama wasn't even in the goddamn. Let's look it up. Let's put this one to bed. I think you're wrong. I'm okay being wrong, by the way. I don't have to win this argument. I'm just curious. What started the Tea Party? Let's go. Here you go, fellas. What started the Tea Party movement? All right. When did this start? Let's find out together, as pals do. 2009, the Tea Party, blah, blah, blah. Let me find something. Members have called for lower taxes. Tea Party movement. The Tea Party didn't get what it wanted. Give me something. Give me a link. Tell me what exactly is the Tea Party. That's from 2010. Okay, they roared onto the political scene in 2009. This looks like it might be it, fellas. They propelled strictly conservative, anti-establishment candidates to victory. So Obama was elected in 2008. Am I right on that? No. Yeah, at the end. Okay, so it was founded amid a groundswell of populist anger over government bailouts of failing banks, insurers, and auto companies following the economic meltdown of 2008. Okay, so you may absolutely be correct, sir. You may be basically suggesting that because Obama stepped in and says, hey, look, I want to save the auto companies. I want to save everybody from this crazy 2008 collapse of the economy that happened under the Republicans in terms of all the weird insider trading and not insider trading, but like short, what did they call it? Like where they're basically giving loans they know are bad. I'm going to have to do all these things that save the economy. However, you may be right. The idea of saying, yeah, you know what he should have done? He should have let all those companies go bankrupt. He should have said, you know what? Sorry, the politicians fucked up and let these guys write their own fucking rules for how they do big finance. But you know what? Them's are the breaks. Elect better politicians. General Motors is going out of business. This steel industry over here is going out of business. Maybe that's what should have happened. Also, the Republicans are for a police state, yet wants to get rid of governments. I'm not sure about that, Chris Dugan. I don't think Republicans are for a police state. I think genuine conservative Republicans who I think we really are suffering from not having voices right now, and I say this as a lefty, I think they're not sitting around wanting a police state. They want freedom. James Gilchrist says, Dave, you should get a new mod. Rob's great. You're saying Rob censors everything he doesn't like. Well, what did Rob censor? Rob, don't censor what James Gilchrist is about to write. I want to see what he wrote. Hello, Extra Large Cox. It's always good to see you. Rioters are not protesters. Tired of them being lumped in. I agree, Eternal. I sometimes say the same thing, but there's a difference between protesters and rioters and looters and whatnot, of course. Okay, Detroit is Republican. There you go, Aaron. I said name me three, but would you agree, Aaron, that the majority of big cities are run by Democrat mayors? That's what I'd like to know. I think, says what I'm playing with, the auto bailout was necessary for the economy, but the banks didn't deserve to be. Fair enough. I don't think we should have bailed everybody out. I don't think the Democrats aren't in the pockets of big business just like Republicans are. Of course they are. It's horrible. Jaffe, we can agree, disagree in politics. I still love you. Michael Day, I still love you as well. I got no issues. All I'm trying to do with this stream is get some facts. You know, and you and I, Texas is not a city, sir. I will, till the cows come home, be pals with you unless you do something terrible. But I will also hold you accountable if you come up and say, I have this view on Donald Trump, I have this view on Joe Biden or whatever. You got to offer some facts. You can't be. I see 9 Lives has vanished in the chat because all he was doing was showing up and offering goddamn talking points that he sees on the Fox News. Well, anybody can do that. Shit's easy. BLM are protesters turned into rioters in my head, says Thomas. That's unfortunate. That's media. We should all push back against that. In the same way a left guy like me can look at Republicans and go, that's ridiculous. Not all Republicans want to have a police state. There are a vocal group of them, and the media shines a light on them. You also have to say that, come on, Black Lives Matter, for the most part, is a wonderful, meaningful organization that says we want to shine a light on the corruption and the violence that is happening and being perpetrated to black people in this culture that is still, in some ways, inherently racist. That is not, somebody tweeted me a thing and said, what about this, Jaffe? And it was a Black Lives Matter guy coming up to some white dude in an intersection and hitting him over the head with a cinder brick. And the guy yelled, Black Lives Matter, before he did it. Okay, the guy's a shithead. The guy's a criminal. He should go to jail for attempted murder. That doesn't negate the Black Lives Matter agenda. That would be like me going up and shooting someone in the head and saying, PlayStation 5 kicks the fuck out of Xbox. Suddenly you're going to basically say all PlayStation fans are murderers? It's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous. Let me tell you something else. You guys saw, and I don't watch a lot of football. I only watch college football, and that's not going down these days. Okay, Black Lives Matter has done nothing but idolize criminals. Again, Sweetness, give me some facts, baby. You can't show up with that. Come on, who do you think you're talking to? And Anthony says, no, BLM is bad. Fair enough. I don't have to win. That's the difference between me and whoever you argue with, usually about politics. What happened a minute ago? Somebody said the Tea Party roared to power under Obama. I said, that doesn't sound right. I said, but you know what? I'm going to look it up. I looked it up, and guess what? He was right. I was wrong. What'd I do? I said, hey, you know what, pal? You were right about that. You're absolutely right about that. Let's discuss that. I don't have to win. I don't have to be right. But if you show up and say Black Lives Matter has done nothing but idolize criminals and Black Lives Matter is bad, totally fine. Give me some evidence. But just show up and type that with no references? What are you talking about? What are you fucking talking about? It doesn't matter, Metallic. The founders of BLM admitted they have communist training. So? Are they applying, what are they doing in their current moment to moment that reflects something that you feel is bad for the country? I don't care what their background is. I mean, I'm not saying I don't care, like it's not interesting, but unless you're bringing up the communist training as something that they are applying to BLM, and in that we're getting bad results, that's relevant. That's important. Check into their goals. One of to disrupt the Western nuclear family. That is anti-black male fathers in the family, which the black community needs. Okay, hang on. You want me to check into BLM's goals. You're saying one of BLM's goals is to disrupt the Western nuclear family. Let me make sure I understand. They want to disrupt it. I don't know what that means, but let's go with it. That is this sentence doesn't work, Sweetness. You know I love you, but you're missing a verb or something. They want to disrupt the Western nuclear family. Then what you wrote is a fresh sentence. That is anti-black male fathers in the family. I don't know what you're saying. So can you retype that, or better yet, send me a link explaining where you're getting this from and exactly what this source is, because it doesn't really make any sense. People seem to think because Trump is president, says Eternal, he can say whatever with no pushback, and that means facts don't matter. Facts fucking matter to me. Anthony, you don't have to ask me if you can call me. The Discord is open. Get on the Discord. I'll take any call today. You know I will. Get on in here, man. This is the time of Trump, says Joe, my buddy Joe, where you can just say anything and fact checks come later. People just seem to believe things are told to them so they don't have to think for themselves. Not here. And that's going to change. You people need to demand that fucking changes. We're going to talk in a few minutes about cuties, okay? The amount of misinformation I've seen about this motion picture, we're not going to get into it right now, is so indicative of the fact that people are not thinking for themselves. And I don't blame them. I'm not going to be one of these guys that sits there and says, oh, people are fucking idiots. They're fucking sheep. We're not educated any better anymore. We have unregulated capitalism across the board. We have Democrats and Republicans who are in the pockets of big business. We know that. And they don't want an educated population. They don't want people who are taught how to watch TV commercials. They don't want people who are taught how to look at Fox News and look at CNN and go, wait a minute, this is fucking weird. They both have an agenda. They don't want people who are taught how to critically think. Okay? So the idea that we are lacking a demand for facts, yes, it's on us. But I can't blame a lot of people for that. Because that's not a natural, you got to get trained in that. My high school was good about that. A lot of schools aren't these days. Okay, so Sweetness says he's going back to his thing saying BLM's goal. He says BLM's goal. Where'd it go? I just saw it and went off my head. Went off my head, goddammit. He goes, okay, here we go. The nuclear family as a unit. The goal is listed on the BLM website as one of their goals. They want a social raising of children. Can you please send me that and we will look at that together? I want to see where you're saying on the BLM website they do not want a family to raise children. I think perhaps if you get called out on this and we actually go to the website, what you will see is perhaps them. I could be wrong. I'm more than happy to admit I'm wrong. I'll put a jar here on the future stream, so I'll put like $1 in every time I'm proven wrong. No problem with that. We'll donate it to charity or something that we all agree on, because I'm sure I'll be wrong a lot. But you're saying it's on their website. I'm going to Google it right now, and you're saying they don't want kids raised by the family. My guess is what they say is we want kids raised by family, but we would also like more society to help raising our kids in terms of childcare and schooling and churches and all sorts of social structures that used to be there maybe back in the 50s and 60s and have since deteriorated because both parents feel they have to go get a job because things have gotten expensive, and or parents want to buy all the shit they see on the television because they haven't been educated in how to sort of actually watch commercials and go, that's not really something I need in my life, but the TV commercial makes me feel like I'm going to feel better, and I'm actually depressed and I'm actually sad in my life. And instead of actually having the wherewithal to understand what is missing in my life, it's not going to get filled by material goods. The TV tells me if I buy that car, if I take that job to buy that car, to buy that house, to buy those clothes, I'll fill that hole of sadness that a lot of people have. That's, I think, what's going on. But let's look it up, shall we, sir? Holy cow, I'm not on speed, but is this what speed is like? Black Lives Matter. Let's go to 2. Okay, Black Lives Matter. What should I look up? Agenda sweetness? What am I looking up here? Black Lives Matter. Now, I'm going to go to their page. I'm not going to go to some right-wing bullshit. Okay, blacklivesmatter.com. Let's make sure this is actually the website. It's okay. Is this really Black Lives Matter? Let's assume it is for a moment. Let's assume it is. Okay, let's see what they believe. We're creating a world free of anti-blackness, good so far, where every black person has the social, economic, and political power to thrive. Great. Let's just do a Control F for family, okay? There we go. Every day we recommit to healing ourselves and each other and co-creating alongside comrades, allies, and family, a culture. Okay, so they've included family and allies and comrades, a culture where each person feels seen, heard, and supported. Let's go to the next one. We see ourselves as part of the global black family. We are aware of the different ways we are impacted or privileged as black people who exist in different parts of the world. Let's go to the next one. We make our spaces family friendly and enable parents to fully participate with their children. We dismantle the patriarchal practice that requires mothers to work double shifts so they can mother in private even as they participate in public justice work. Let's go back to that one in a minute. Let's see if there's something else, because that might be the thing you're talking about, which doesn't sound bad to me. We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our kids, to the degree that mothers, parents, and kids are comfortable. Where in the world are you getting sweetness that Black Lives Matter want to get rid of a nuclear family? They're basically saying, and here, let's be clear why they're saying it. They're basically saying that given the amount of black males who have been incarcerated, which is a huge number, more than any other in the world, the mom, dad living at home with the 2 kids and the dog is not as prevalent in black society. And they're basically saying, we're not going to rely on that having to be there. We are going to come together and we're going to help each other. We're going to help mothers and parents and schools and churches, and we're going to work together to raise our kids together. It takes a village kind of thing. How is that bad? How in the world is that bad? So what you guys are saying, says Dwarman, is you're willing to vote for an incumbent who openly erodes our empire because you think he will protect you from social change. Right, I agree. Jack says the nuke family isn't even good. I think it depends. Some families are great. But, you know, the nuclear family that, you know, let's put it this way. There's my parents were loving but crazy. But if there was ever a case of they should have gotten divorced for the sake of the kids and not stayed together for the kids, there's a lot of people who stay together in the, quote, normal family structure, and those kids are damaged by it, okay? So you're absolutely right that the nuclear family is not automatically the right way. If somebody said to me, you can be in a home with the dad who's absent and or a drunk and or not a very good dad, or the mom can leave the dad or the dad can leave the mom, and they can get help through organizations like BLM to help raise their kids. They can help so a mom doesn't have to work 2 fucking shifts. It's exactly there in the text, Sweetness. It's written in the goddamn website you sent me to. They don't want parents to have to work 2 shifts. They want parents to be able to be home with their fucking children. They're saying we as an organization will help you to make sure that you can work one job like any American needs to work, and then you can come home and nurture your kid, love your kid, help your kid with the fucking homework. Jaffe is okay, again, Mike Garcia, that does no good here. That does no good here. Your attacks or your logic is I'm immune to it. Not because you're wrong, because you offer no facts. Mike Garcia says Jaffe is projecting his whiteness. It's BLM fascism. Fair enough. Show me that. Explain that to me and I'll go, oh yeah, you're right, man. I fucked up. I was seeing it wrong. But you think about the waste of RAM or the waste of energy that you took to type the phrase, Jaffe is projecting his whiteness. You even had to use the shift key to put whiteness in quotes. And then ellipses, which is wrong. It's ellipses is 3, not 2. It's BLM fascism. Totally fine with that, by the way. Maybe that's all true. I'm absolutely aware of the fact that there's probably sort of white privilege, as much as I think I'm aware of it, that I'm not aware of, that I could be educated on. And maybe you're the guy to do it. But don't come in here and write a fucking statement like that that has nothing to back it up. Let's go back to Sweetness real quick. Hang on. Sweetness says, wait, let's go back down. He said something a minute ago. Where'd you go, Sweetness? Here you go. It's not prevalent due to Democratic policies rewarding single mothers and fatherless homes. Fatherless homes are 70% in black communities. The nuke family is the highest statistically for success. That may be true, but what does it matter if you're a black family and you don't have a nuclear family, and I'm saying nuke because I always get nuclear and nuclear mixed up. I'm an idiot, all right? I'm from the South. But fine. Let's assume that statistically speaking, kids will be better off in a nuclear family. Not everybody in the black community for whatever reason. If you're right, let's even find out if that stat's right. That stat seems pretty high, but you could be right. Let's see. How many black families are single parent? Okay, you're saying it's 70%. Here we go. You could be right. Let's find out. Let's find out. Children and single parents by race. That looks pretty good. Data sitter, kids count. All right, race is African American. Okay, so right now, okay, so you're close. You're not exactly right, but it's 65%. Anywhere from 67 to 65% of black kids are raised by single dads or single moms. Fair enough. I'll give tip of the hat, sir. That stat is relatively close to what you were saying. It seemed high, but yeah, that's really bad. Unless there's a reason, right? Let me ask you a question, Sweetness. What do you think the reason is? What is the reason that stat is so high? If you're saying that the statistic of single parents in black families is 70%, give or take, explain to me why that is. I'd love to know that. Let me bring a call in real quick. This is a guy named Club. Hang on a sec. Club, are you there? Club, you're in the chat if you want to talk, man.
Hello, Jaffe.
Hey, what's up, man? How are you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can hear myself too. You got to turn down your computer.
You can hear yourself.
I can hear you now. You're good. Go. What's going on? What do you want to talk about?
So I want to talk about Black Lives Matter.
Okay, go.
I don't like Black Lives Matter.
Why?
Number one, you want facts about Black Lives Matter.
Yes, please.
Black Lives Matter and participated in rigged elections in Venezuela, for example.
Black Lives Matter. Meaning, wait, hang on. Hang on. They participated in what elections in Venezuela?
In 2015.
But what kind of...
Baltometti, the founder of Black Lives Matter, she have a photo in her Twitter about participating in rigged elections in Venezuela.
Are you saying
she participated in...
You're saying...
In a socialist country. You can look this fact very quickly.
Well, okay, but you're just so I'm clear, you're saying it's a rigged election. She helped a rigged election.
She participated in the institution on this. It's called CNN. That is in charge of counting voting. You understand that?
Yeah. Let's see.
She participated in those elections. And Black Lives Matters also gave the dictator, Nicolas Maduro, a party and an award. This is a guy, a dictator that kills hundreds of people and keeps people hungry. And Black Lives Matter gave an award to this guy. So you have.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
So for
okay.
me.
Oh, hang on.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
You are equating the movement of people in America that are walking. I mean, Black Lives Matter as a movement in America, 99.9% of the people that are out there marching saying Black Lives Matter, who are writing Black Lives Matter on the streets in front of the White House and in front of Trump Tower, are not sitting around thinking about who the co-founder is. My guess is if you ask them on the street in a march who the co-founder is and what happened in Venezuela, they'd say, I don't know what you're talking about. And so, sure, if what you're saying is true, and I'm looking it up on the internet and it looks to be true, then that particular individual seems to me like she could be very problematic, and at a PR standpoint, probably not be very valuable. But do you think the agenda?
She's still part of that.
I understand.
She's still a part of the.
I understand, but are you suggesting that the entire movement is contaminated because one of the founders has a problematic background?
Yes.
So you're saying that all the things that people are marching for.
This is after the founding of Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter was created in 2013.
Okay.
And these elections happened in 2015.
I understand if she did it yesterday.
The entire organization, not only that founder Opal Tometi, but also another founder of Black Lives Matter, gave a party to this dictator in New York or something like that. They have photos, they have reports of this, a medal to this guy that kills hundreds. So for me, it's hypocrisy. Today, yes, we are fighting about equality, but we are supporting also the oppression of these people. You understand that?
Well, again, I do understand that, and I don't agree with that, and I think that's awful. However, what I'm saying to you is, if you are saying, Jaffe, do you agree this woman sounds like she's potentially bad news? I'd say, yeah, that's interesting information. I appreciate you sharing it with me. That sounds terrible. But that has nothing to do in my mind with what the people in the streets of New York and Portland and all over the country are marching for. They're marching. It's kind of like most people are not sitting around looking at Black Lives Matter as like a political party they're going to vote for. They're going, oh, Black Lives Matter wants black equality. They want cops to stop shooting and being aggressive with black people in America. It doesn't mean what you're saying is wrong, but can you understand that most people in America, when they support Black Lives Matter, it has nothing to do with what you're talking about? So I would agree with you. This woman sounds terrible. If I was Black Lives Matter, maybe we would say maybe we should get rid of her. But that doesn't negate the value of what most people are trying to achieve under that umbrella.
Okay. Well, I just quoting facts to you that Black Lives Matters.
Okay. All right. I cut you off, sir. You're not listening to me. Fair enough. I understand your point. I appreciate you bringing it to my attention. I genuinely do. And it makes her sound like a terrible person. But I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think she sounds bad. I think that's awful. I think the dictator obviously is awful. But, I mean, but by that logic, anybody, any organization that's got a bad apple, you're suggesting get rid of the entire organization. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense when it comes to something like Black Lives Matter. A lot of Republicans, you got fucking all these, you got Clinton, you got Trump taking pictures with Jeffrey Epstein, throwing parties for that guy, taking money from that guy for their campaigns. Should they suddenly be not qualified to run for president? Maybe, but we don't hold them to those standards. NATO says, Jaffe, please never cut people off. I will absolutely cut people off. Why would I not cut people off? If they're basically saying the same thing, and we're not getting anywhere. What Saltius says, he brought up a good point. Saltius, do me a favor. Can you express to me the point he brought up that was a good point? That's what I would like to know. I'm not saying you're wrong, by the way. I'm not saying this guy was wrong. And I do appreciate him bringing me these facts. I didn't know that. So if you're watching still, thank you. But what was the point he brought up? What was the, because my question is, the people marching in the streets under Black Lives Matter umbrellas saying, we want better treatment. We want to work and root out the racism that still exists in America. How can you be opposed to an organization that is about that? You can be opposed to some of the leadership in the organization. So Saltius, what is it that he pointed out? Not everyone's going to be a saint in any group, says Alan. There's sewing circles that have bad apples. That's true. That's true. A lot of Hollywood had their hands muddied by Weinstein as well. They sure did. Doesn't make them bad people. He had a large influence. It was near impossible not to do business with him. Black Lives Matter will die on this woman. Well, let's get to the root of it, though, okay? Let's get to the root of maybe what a lot of people have a problem with. We're going to get off this really soon, I promise. We'll get to cuties in a few minutes, but like that's going to be any less contentious. Ultimately, my guess would be if they fired this woman, or if the leadership that wasn't this woman and wasn't the other woman that threw a party for the dictator, if they got rid of them, or everybody said, you know what, we're going to make a new group called Racism Be Gone, whatever, right? I'm bad at these names. My guess, and it's exactly what Black Lives Matter espouses, but it doesn't have those leaders. My guess is people would still have a problem with it. Because how can you if you have a problem with the leader, absolutely, that guy was right. Get him out. Get that leader out. Sounds like a terrible person. But how can you have a problem with an organization that wants to bring racial equality to America when you know good and goddamn well that we still have racial problems in America? You can't have goddamn white and black football players last Sunday, Monday, whenever the fuck it was, stand arm to arm. They weren't kneeling. They weren't spitting on the flag. They weren't not saying the national anthem. They literally stood there arm to arm and they said it was a show of unity. And you had the fucking audience boo them. Don't tell me your problem with Black Lives Matter for most people is, oh, there's this thing happening in Venezuela. You're absolutely right. That's a problem. They should get rid of that woman. 100%. But most people who have a problem with Black Lives Matter have a problem with black lives. That's what I would fucking suggest. I think that's true. You got people booing people that are white and black just because they want to be in unity. It's crazy. I've yet to hear any BLM activists, says Trey, disavow the two cops being blindly shot in the head while sitting in the patrol car. Well, I think most people, define a Black Lives Matter activist. Do I believe in the Black Lives Matter cause? 150%. I know that's not a real math. 150%, Trey. Do I think what they did to those cops sitting in the car that I think are both still in critical condition? If you don't know what Trey's talking about, yesterday in New York, there were two cops just sitting in the car, making sure they were watching some event, making sure people were safe. As much as I have a problem with the New York cops right now, good on them. Making sure people are safe, that's what they should do. This guy comes up, and I don't know if he's affiliated with Black Lives Matter, but this guy comes up, shoots them both in the head. One of them's a mom of like a 6-year-old kid. The other one's like a 24-year-old young cop. They're both in critical condition. For all I know, they may have died. It was in L.A., says Michael Fine. It was in L.A. It wasn't in New York. As a guy who supports Black Lives Matter, I will disavow that. I think that's horrible. I will still go out in the streets if there's a reason to, if there's not a pandemic, and I will support Black Lives Matter. If Black Lives Matter calls me up and says, we want some money for our cause, and I'll say, what are you going to do with it? Oh, we're trying to raise $7 million to have an educational program about racism for after-school programs. Here you go. Here's a check. Here's what I can afford to give you. Absolutely. But I will absolutely disavow. And most people will disavow shooting cops in the fucking head. Most people don't want people to die. Most people are just fed up. Most people are mad. There was a fucking new video that came out today of a guy pulled out of a car, a black guy pulled out of a car, his head shoved into the ground. He wasn't resisting. The cop just got laid off because of it. The guy was pinned to the ground. He was handcuffed, and the cop was just repeatedly bashing him in the fucking head. That's what we're against. No one wants to shoot cops in the fucking head. Jesus. Okay. Good morning, Carl Johnson. It's good to see you, sir. How are you? I appreciate you being here. I want to hear a single law in the books that is specifically only against people with dark or black skin. It's not about that. You have institutionalized racism. You look. Okay. Here's one. Here's one. The sentencing for crack cocaine versus powder cocaine is higher, right? Because they know that inner city black people and lower income people can get the crack cocaine, and only the upper class kind of Wall Street folks and college kids can get the powder cocaine. Now, why in the world would one type of cocaine have a lengthier prison sentence associated with it than a different kind of cocaine? Explain that to me. Well, I can explain it to you because it's fucking racist. It's fucking racist. John, I don't know what that means. John comes in. You got to be a little more specific, sir. He says, horrible garbage humans these people are. You sound like Yoda. Are you Yoda, sir? And those who support them are ushering in the downfall of our society. Without specific proper nouns, you could be talking about people who are into fucking the last Trolls movie. It's like those fucking people who like Trolls World Tour, that saucy Anna Kendrick, as sexy as she is, she's going to bring about this downfall. I don't know what you're talking about. Joe says, yes, more black people do crack, which is cheaper. That's right. And crack basically will put you in jail longer. What's that about? Oh, I agree. Well, wait a minute. Panda Uncle says nothing will change under Biden. Systematic racism will still exist. It will. It absolutely tragically will. However, Donald Trump is stirring the pot. He's kicking the hornet's nest. He's throwing gasoline on the fire. Pick whatever metaphor, simile you like. He has exacerbated and he has inflamed the racial divide in this country for his own political gain, in my opinion. Okay? Will Joe Biden suddenly show up and solve racism? Of course not. If the first black president of the goddamn United States couldn't show up and solve it, you certainly know some old 70-something weird old white guy ain't gonna fucking solve it. But at least you got a guy who, for all of his potential policy problems you may have, his heart is in the right place. He's not looking to divide the country. God damn, you guys know I'm as left as they come. Aren't you tired of the anger? I mean, seriously, fellas, aren't you tired? I'm so tired. Why can't I just have some conservative friends who have financial differences with me about big government and about spending? Why in the world are we disagreeing on masks? Why in the world are we disagreeing on the fact that a president can lie about crucial health issues and he still has people defending him? How is this possible? Aren't you tired of that divide? Don't you want to get back together and go to Mars and cure cancer and do cool shit as a team? It's fucking crazy. So I didn't say that. That's what I'm saying, Saltiest Gamer. It is not about winning except as a collective. Saltiest Gamer says, so what, CNN doesn't fuel the race war? Of course they do. MSNBC fuels it more. Fox fuels it more. If you want real news best as you can get it, go to the AP, go to Reuters, go to BBC. But yeah, they all have agendas. That's another problem with unregulated capitalism. We can't depend on the news because they're trying to get clicks and money. We have to have a desire to want to be better. Instead, I mean, seriously, stop wanting to fight all the fucking time. Panda says, also being conservative doesn't mean you support Trump. I agree, but he is the standard bearer of the Conservative Party or the Republican Party. That's the thing. Okay, I'll let you guys have the last word. Then we're going to shift over and talk about cuties. We've been talking about Trump and all that for about an hour. I'm more than happy to keep talking about it. Emma Bose says, I have no interest in talking politics to a leftist like Jaffe. Well, then that's the problem, isn't it, Emma? Why? I mean, think about what you just said. The only people you're interested in talking about politics with are what? People that you agree with? Doesn't that seem potentially problematic? Doesn't that seem to get us in the problem that we're in now, whether it's the left or the right? You don't want to talk about it with me because you and I disagree? I've had people on this fucking stream before today. This guy who called in a minute ago, he showed me I was wrong or I didn't have information about this BLM leader. I'm an open-minded fella, Emma Bose. Come on now. Unfortunately, our political social reality is a product of social engineering. None of this is anybody's fault. No, but after all, it is our fault if we're aware of it and we choose not to improve it. NATO, I don't care. It's the same when you cut people off. You know what? I will cut people off. My job on this stream is to engage the stream. Whether you're watching it live or you're watching on a video on demand. I'm not going to have, it's not a college course. I'm not going to have somebody call in and after he's repeating himself over and over, I'm going to let him go. Why would I do that? We got the guy's point. We're moving on. I asked him point blank 3 times to explain to me why Black Lives Matter as an organization or as a theory, as a movement is flawed just because one of its founders is. And all he did was continue to reiterate, isn't this awful what this woman did? I said, yes, it's awful. She's terrible. They should get rid of her. But explain to me why we want to get rid of Black Lives Matter and why they're fundamentally bad. Didn't say shit. I'll always cut those people off. Always cut those people off. I should hope most conservatives will renounce Trump after what he's done. I agree. For a while, I heard Eternal John Kasich was going to run for against Trump, and I know Kasich has some problems. But when he was running for the nomination back in 2012, 08, whenever it was, I was like, oh, I like this guy. I don't like all of his policies, but as a Republican, usually I vote liberal. But I was like, this guy's got some good points. Hello, Bacon Magma. Trey says, Jaffe, thank you, by the way, for the super chat. I appreciate it. He says, the 1986 law on crack was passed by black legislators from inner cities who were sick of seeing crack destroying their communities. I don't care who passed it. Would you agree it's fundamentally racist? It's fundamentally saying we know this particular drug is prevalent in the inner cities and people of color are prevalent in the inner cities, and we're going to raise the sentencing on the drug of choice in the inner cities. But if you're a white guy and you do a bunch of fucking powder cocaine in your frat house and you get a slap on the wrist, that's all I'm doing is responding to Sweetness. I think it was Sweetness who says, name one fucking law that's racist. That's racist. That's racist. Renton says crack cocaine is far more destructive than non-freebase cocaine. I've been down the paths. Okay, I'm sure it is. Which one's cheaper? Which one can I get cheaper? If I want to go out tonight and buy cocaine, and I don't have much experience with it, if I want to go out and buy freebase cocaine or non-freebase cocaine, or I want to buy crack cocaine, what kind of ducats do I need? Is the money Trey Trimble just sent me, $5, is that enough to get any of it? How much money do I need to get myself some crack cocaine versus the powder form? Help me out with that. Jaffe says, Saltius, can you answer this question? Why are you voting Biden? You can't use the excuse that anyone other than Trump is better. Are you saying I can't use the excuse because we're having an interesting political experiment, or you're saying that that's not acceptable to you? What I will tell you is I voted for Elizabeth Warren in the primaries. And she was my choice. Bernie was my second choice. Biden, to me, certainly, but anybody for the most part is better than Trump, short of Harvey Weinstein, okay? So I want him out of office. My vote, my passion for the election this time, other than I voted in every election since I was 18, as far as I remember, I may have missed one, is I want Trump out of office. I think he's bad for the country. I think his policies are bad. I think more importantly than that, I think his the way he has made this country bitchy and mean and aggressive and violent. It's not the America I want. It's not the America I want for my kids. And so I'm voting for a guy who seems, even if you ask Republicans, fundamentally good and decent. Is he the best politician in the world? No. Does he have the greatest ideas in the world since Churchill and since fucking FDR? No. But he seems like a good guy who doesn't want to tear America up, and he wants to kind of bring some normalcy back to discourse and some civility back to discourse. That's why I'm voting for him. John Moore says Elizabeth Warren stated she was Native American. Yes, I know, John Moore. None of these people are perfect. I'm not voting for somebody to replace Jesus. Not that I believe in Jesus. They all have blood on their, not blood, but they all have muck on their boots. They're in politics, right? No one in your life, let alone people in public office, is gonna check every box. You're absolutely right. Let me ask you a question, John Moore. John Moore, do you think Elizabeth Warren claiming she was Native American in order to maybe score some political points, is that worse than Elizabeth Warren standing up publicly and grilling the head of Wells Fargo and telling the Wells Fargo CEO he needs to be fired, saying this publicly in a Senate hearing because he fucked over tens of thousands of Wells Fargo customers that he knew were going to get fucked if they agreed to the deals that Wells Fargo was making. I would say, you know what? It sucks, Elizabeth Warren, that you basically said you were Native American to score cheap political points. But you know what? If I had to choose between that level of corruption and Donald Trump, who basically said, the pandemic's fine, it'll go away, don't worry about wearing masks, and then behind closed doors, he says this is deadlier than the flu, 5 times deadlier than the flu, I'll take Elizabeth Warren, who's grilling the CEO of a corrupt fucking banking institution. Today, I'd vote an average Joe that makes less than $100K a year. Can you imagine? That's Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, sir. That's a great movie. You ever see that? Mr. Smith Goes to Washington with what's his fucking name? What the guy's fucking name? Classic guy, Jimmy Stewart. Oh, Bernie is perfect, says NATO. I'm terrible at that impression. Isn't that terrible? Oh, y'all savings and loan. Oh, I'm horrible. My name is Sexagon. I voted Donald Trump and will be president for. Great, JJ. JJ, look at JJ thinking that it's like he's gonna troll. Great, JJ, you got something? You got something to offer, you fucking moron? He says, my name is Sexagon. Really? You sound like a fucking weird robot from a weird fucking sci-fi porn after Star Wars came out. My name is Sexagon. I voted Donald Trump. Trump will be president for sure in 2020. That level of discourse is fantastic. Okay, so Stahl says, LOL, what? Didn't Fauci say masks were not needed? Fauci? Yes, he did. He absolutely did. Yeah, at the very beginning. And then he came out really quickly and said, I said that because we needed the doctors and the nurses and the people on the front lines to have the mask. You have my support if you want to say, you know what, Fauci, you probably shouldn't have done that. Because even though it was true, maybe Fauci was going, if I didn't say that, the people who are healing your sick relatives and children wouldn't be able to do their job because they'd be dying like flies, surrounding themselves with COVID patients all goddamn day.
To borrow the charger.
It's in the kitchen island. Okay, but you're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. I would have liked him to be truthful, but he's not the president. He didn't have a press conference every single day and tell people. I mean, do you know how many people came to his fucking rallies? Do you know how many people are out at restaurants right now because they're like, oh, Trump says it's no worse than the flu? Do you know, I mean, seriously, do you know how many people in this very chat over the last 6, 7, 8 months? Because we were talking about this back when it was in Wuhan. We were doing this in late December. I'll show you the tapes from this goddamn stream where we were talking about mobile crematoriums in China. And we were in this stream, not just me, a bunch of people who watch this stream regularly were saying, this is going to be a problem, okay? Donald Trump, how many people on this chat have said to me, oh, it's just like the flu? Donald Trump said that. Behind closed doors, Donald Trump said it's 5 times worse than the fucking flu. You don't think he demands some responsibility for that? Come on now. All right, are we done with Trump? Do we want to move on to cuties? Is that what's happening? Is that where we're at, chat? You tell me. You navigate the good ship lollipop. Where are we going? Where are we going, chat? I'm going to have a little more of my bubbly right now. Hang on. Wouldn't everybody have raged if Trump shut down the borders before COVID got serious? I don't know. So what? How many people rage because Bush shut down the airports after 9/11? That's what you do when you are the president. You make the tough calls. Is the job to just placate the American people, or is the job to protect and serve the American people? You tag me on Twitter. Nice. What does that mean? I don't know what that means, Salties. So would anyone support White Lives Matter if that was a thing, like they had a website? I don't think I would support White Lives Matter, no, because I mean, it depends on what they were about, but if you're basically saying white people are doing the same thing as Black Lives Matter and going around saying there's white racism, I'd say I don't really think that's possible to have white racism in America. So you'd have to tell me what they stand for. JJ, I love you right back, sir. Let's you and I go to the sock hop together and then have milkshakes, and maybe if things go well, we'll have a baby later that night. Different issue, Nofi. Different issue. You're saying Bush wanted oil. Yeah, maybe. Different issue, though. Doesn't matter. The point is that Bush basically shut down a lot of the country. Trump was called a racist for trying to ban travel from China. So what? So what? What does it matter? What does it matter what he was called? He is the president. You take the slings, you take the arrows, that's part of the job. If he had data and he was a good leader that suggested, hey, America, if we don't do this, I know you. Here's what he should have done if that was the case. He should have stood up there and said, you know what? I love China. I love the Chinese people. I have a problem with their government. I have a problem with the fucking concentration camps they have in the northwest of the country. But as a country, as a people, they are wonderful. But right now, my job is to protect the American people. I have to get all the Americans back in the country, and we are locking down for a bit while we get this under control. If you are offended, I am sorry. If you are so offended that you think your health and the health of your family is not as important as you thinking I'm racist, then you vote me out in a couple of years. But right now, I got to take care of America because that's what you hired me to do. Why is that so hard? Why would that be so hard, 9 Lives? Just because people said he was racist? Who gives a shit? I agree, Sober Hippie. You know, it shouldn't necessarily matter the personal politics of a news broadcaster. That's usually true. That's usually true, Eternal. But the problem is these days, you have things that people think are news. People will watch Sean Hannity. They'll listen to Rush Limbaugh. What are you listening to? Oh, it's the news, basically. Last thing I'm going to say on it, then we will, Chris Dugan, we will move on to cuties. The last thing I will say on it is, where'd it go? I wanted to see this real quick. You were talking about the WHO saltiest gamer. Everyone did dumb shit and wrong shit involving the virus. That's right. But Trump, as of yesterday, is having inside packed rallies. He is on record as saying this is deadlier than the flu. Kids can get it. He wasn't wearing a mask. His people aren't wearing a mask, right? This is not Fauci. This is not the WHO 5 months ago. This is today. This is him a week ago saying we need to open up the schools, even though behind closed doors he knows good and well that kids get this. He admitted that. You hear his own voice saying that. So he had a rally last night. He absolutely had an inside rally this week that was packed. Last night may have been outside. I don't know. You're right. I couldn't tell you. I thought it was inside because I heard somebody talking about it today. But he's got people crammed. Here, let's take a look at it. Let's look at what it looked like, and then we're going to move on to cuties. I promise. Trump rally. I want to see for myself because I am not in this to win. I don't give a fuck. I just want to come together. I want to stop people being so goddamn mad at each other. Come on now. Okay, this was last night. This is his rally. There you go. It's airborne. It's easy to catch. Old people, young people die. It's worse than the flu. Look at that. This is yesterday. Okay? That's the rally. This is yesterday. That's the rally. You see any mask? I see a few. There's one. There's Waldo. I don't see most. What's the problem? Again, 9 Lives. Man, I'll tell you, you don't want to have a real discussion. It's a peaceful protest. First off, if I were to show you pictures of the peaceful protests, 95% of them are wearing masks. However, you are absolutely right. No one in their right mind is going to look at what's happening with Black Lives Matter or the protest and say they are not at risk of creating a super spreader event. They absolutely are. Now, to be fair, we haven't seen that spike. You saw what happened in Sturgis, right? The Sturgis bike thing, which had like 300,000, I don't know how many people, tons of people showed up. It spread out COVID all over the country. There's a map of it that came out last night. But you're absolutely right. You would be a hypocrite if you were to say there's nothing wrong with the protest, but there is something wrong with this. But what I've always said about the protest is that the people who go to the protest, besides wearing masks, are basically saying this is worth it. Okay, you can agree or disagree, but that's what they're saying. Showing up to a rally, especially if you're the president, they're not saying I'm showing up to vote and exercise my constitutional American right to vote and I'm willing to get sick over it. They're showing up to a rally that the president has asked them to show up to. They're showing up to a rally where they have had to sign a piece of paper before they go in saying, if I get COVID and get sick or die, I won't sue Donald Trump. The issue is not that they're showing up to something. The issue is Donald Trump is asking them to show up for his own political gain. That's the problem. We're going to fucking move on. We're done. Show Biden. Okay. What do you want me to show? What should I Google, Mike? What should I move? What do you want me to Google? I don't even think Joe Biden does rallies. Joe Biden, let's just see where he was lately. Let's do where is Joe Biden? How about that? Where is Joe Biden today? Okay, Joe Biden's security breached. That's bad. Give me something. I'm happy to look it up, man. But you got to help me out. Okay. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about cuties. Let me get a drink. We're gonna clear the palate. We're gonna talk about something much less problematic. Like pedophilia. This is the thing, by the way. This is the gunman shooting. So, by the way, this was the Black Lives Matter thing. But was this affiliated with Black Lives Matter? I know that the guy who shot them. Here it is. I'm not gonna play it for you. I haven't watched it. I don't want to see it. Horrible guy. Horrible act. I hope they catch him and fucking throw him in prison or even kill him. But I don't know if there's anything here saying he was a Black Lives Matter supporter. But anyway, let's move on. Okay. How do we want to kick off the cuties discussion? Well, let's kick off the cuties discussion. Let me tell you, let's go to a big screen. John Moore says, what the fuck is cuties? What the fuck is cuties? That's what I'm going to tell you, sir. I'm going to get you guys up to speed on a motion picture called Cuties that's causing all kinds of crazy nonsense in the good old USA. Do I need a break? What do you guys think? Do I need a break? Do we all need to come down for a minute? Do we need to put this on the screen for like maybe 3 minutes? Whoops. You don't want to see that. That's not it. Do we want to put this on the screen for 3 minutes and then come back and have a why isn't that showing up? Do we want that on the screen or we want 5 minutes? What do we want to do? You know what? I'm going to take 2 minutes. Thank you, Trey. We're going to put this great image on the screen from our pal Trey. I'm going to change the script so it only runs for 2 minutes. What's 2 minutes? 60. So it's 120. 120. I don't know why. Fucking programmers. Oh, he's got the 120. All right, there we go. So here we go. It's going to go in for 2 minutes. Here we go. I'm going off. I got some gum for my kids. Because they're selling all the Halloween candy, fellas. And Filettis. I can't leave chat on the screen. I'm sorry. I would like to, and I'll do that next time. But I didn't, I wasn't prepared. This is not wheat candy, it's Dum-Dums. It's a good question, Ren10. Is anybody else getting buffering on the stream? I don't know. What do you mean, am I a patriot? What does that mean? That's right, Av Rally. What do you mean, am I a patriot? Help me define that. All right, here we go. I'm going to show you something really cool first, though. Watch this. This is the best gum for bubbles. Watch this. Okay, if I blow a big bubble, Joe Biden's going to win the presidency. Here we go. I have seen Cuties. I watched it last night and prepped for this stream. I'm not somebody who just goes on and talks about bullshit. I know what I'm talking about. Hang on a sec, though. Well, fuck it. I'm gonna swallow it. Do you like it? God, it's good. Got Coke and gum. Oh, it reminds me of being a kid. Going to 7-Eleven. My dad taking us to 7-Eleven to buy comic books and ices and gum. Great. All right, let's talk about Cuties. All right, let me give you an update on what this is. Cuties is a motion picture. It was a movie in France. They have dubbed it in English. It is on Netflix now, okay? Netflix comes out with this movie. It is a fictional movie. It's not a documentary. It is about an 11-year-old girl played by a 14-year-old actress, but she's still a kid, who is a Muslim girl I think it's set in France, but she's part of this, I don't know the country, but she's part of this community that's come over to France, clearly from like an African country. And so they're still like, it's very old school, the way she's being raised and a lot of tradition, and the old grandmother and the aunt is there. And it's about her experience trying to navigate that world and the fact that she's growing up in modern Western culture of France with social media, with movies, with television. They reference the Kardashians. And it's basically, look, I saw it last night, and we're gonna cover the whole fucking thing. But I want to tell you my quick review on it. It is a wonderful movie. It is an important movie. It is an emotional movie. It is incredibly poignant. I'm a dad. I have a daughter. She's 17 now, but I've watched her kind of go through this weird rite of passage. She still has some residue from it, dealing with what social media tells her she should be and her friends should be. This is an important movie. Netflix fucked up badly. Netflix decided to market the movie in France. This is how the movie was marketed in France. Okay, the movie was marketed in France, I believe, and it won a number of awards. Here's how it was marketed in France. Right? It's like, okay, it's just some kids shopping. Oh, they're wearing bras. They're tween girls. Oh, look, we're being silly. Whatever. It's no problem. But this is a group of girls that call themselves the Cuties in the movie, and this is the lead character right here. Her name is Amy. They call themselves the Cuties as their dance troupe name, and they basically do these dances at the end of the movie because, and they don't know what they're doing. This is the key thing, right? These are girls who are 11, 12, 13 years old, and they are on that cusp. They're still kids, but they're growing into adults, and so they're aware of guys and sexuality and all that, and they're still little kids. That they're tweens. That's what they do. They grow up, okay? And this is that weird little time, that weird little window where, like Britney Spears says, not a girl, not yet a woman, right? This is what that's about, okay? And they do these dances at the end of the movie for the competition, and they are intentionally sexualized. Not because the movie is a porno movie, but because the movie is about this kid who her dad is absent. Her mother is struggling to get through the day. No one is there for this kid. She's raising her fucking brother by herself. She has no guidance. So she's been left to social media to parent herself, okay? And in that, she's watching the Kardashians. She wants to fit in with these girls, so she starts watching dance videos on YouTube. And lo and behold, she starts discovering not awful for if you're an adult, but for kids to see all this really super hypersexualized dancing and videos and all that. And so she, in order to fit in, starts teaching the kids new dance moves. They don't know any better. They're not sitting around going, we're trying to fuck anybody. They're basically going, oh, these are the moves that people on the YouTube do. Cool. And ultimately, it becomes a hypersexualized dance group at the end. And thank God, I'll tell you how it ends in a minute. I'm going to spoil it for you. But Netflix, for some god-awful dumb reason, chose when they were marketing the movie at first to use this as their poster. This is basically the problem in the fiction of the movie. This is ultimately what the movie's about. It's a parable. It's a cautionary tale of, look, parents, raise your kids. Social media, left unchecked, will fuck kids up. Parents not being around will fuck kids up. Kids are impressionable. And also super hyper tradition of the old ways will fuck kids up as much as trying to be modern will fuck kids up. It is about parenting. It's about being a kid. It is an important movie. But for some reason, Netflix says we're going to promote it this way. And in doing so, it's caused a lot of controversy. So much so, I'm going to get to the chat, I promise. So much so that you've got people like Ted Cruz in the week that President Trump called soldiers losers and suckers, in the week that President Trump came out and literally confessed on tape months ago how bad Corona was and was lying to the American people all this time that could have gotten many people killed, Ted Cruz has said nothing. But he has decided he's going to say something about this, right? A number of Republican politicians, Tucker Carlson, oh, this is the big thing. This is the big thing. If you've watched this movie, the problem here is the guys who do marketing at Netflix, probably if not fired, they should be sat down and gone like, y'all need to take a leave of absence because y'all out of your goddamn minds. Because this is not the way to market that movie. But assuming we can move that aside, all this is distraction. This is not a problematic film. I'm going to look at the chat in a minute, and then I'm going to play you. It's 6 minutes. I'm going to shut up during the 6 minutes. I want you to hear from the director herself what this movie is about, okay? It's impossible to watch this movie. It's impossible to then hear from the director and go, yeah, this movie, this is horrible, this is awful, this is pedo shit. No, it's not. The only way this is pedophilia to you is if you're attracted to this, okay? If you're into this, sure, it's pedophilia. But if you're into this, the Disney Channel's pedophilia, right? That's what you're into, tragically, okay? Let me show you the director, but let me go to the chat first. I have a lot to say on this subject, but I want to see what you guys have to say. I ask you this, Jeff. He says, Ren 10, does the film pass the DOS test? No, it doesn't. Who gives a shit? What do I care? The DOS test, I think, is some kind of... hello, Jesse Lopez. Thanks for subbing, sir. The DOS test, as I understand it, is some kind of thing that says if these things have been done, it's pedophilia. Great. What do I care? Here's what I'll tell you. The one complaint people have about this motion picture is they say, the message is important, Jaffe. It is. What they're saying about kids being hypersexualized is important because it's happening in this country. It's happening all over the world. And it's a problem. But why did they have to film that with the kids? That is the only pot they have to piss in. And they're not wrong in terms of that argument, which is you can make the point of cuties without actually having to have filmed these girls doing this. That becomes debatable, though. That becomes, you know what, if you have that position, I respect that. I don't know if I agree. I think there's value in the movie. Especially when you see this director, these kids were not, there's no stories that these kids were harmed. A lot of times she says we made up little games of them pretending they were animals. A lot of times in movies like this, they will have kids do things. The kids aren't aware of the context, right? These kids, from what I understand, were not harmed. It was a loving set. It was a nurturing set. It was done respectfully. It was done with the parents' permission. But yes, you could argue the very nature of filming kids doing this, even if the kids weren't knowing what they were doing, is inherently problematic. I would say I respect that argument. I don't agree with that argument. The film becomes more powerful because it is so shocking. You can't watch this movie, I assume, unless you're a pedophile. If you're not a pedophile, and I'm not a pedophile, you can't watch this movie and not be disturbed. It is disturbing. And in it being disturbing, I think it has its power. It's disturbing in the same way that this is disturbing. Toddlers in tiaras is disturbing. Or the Bratz dolls that are little kids that are sexualized. This is what's happening. You know what the number 1 or number 2, depending on the chart you look at, song in America is right now? Is WAP, which I had to have the chat point out to me. WAP stands for wet ass pussy. My kids were singing it in the car the other day. This is not, my kids are 17 and 15, okay? But you think what? The internet knows not to serve this up? This is the number 1, number 2 song in America. It's a good song. It's horrifically vulgar. But it's a fucking stupid song, whatever. Yeah, you fucking with some wet-ass pussy, bring a bucket and a mop for this wet-ass pussy, give me everything you got for this wet-ass pussy. It goes on and on and on and on. It's super vulgar. Here's the video for it. I'll just show you a little frame of it. There you go. There you go. Yeah, I've heard Ben Shapiro did a cover. Look, this is the culture in which we're raising kids in. There was a study up here, a media sexual study. They basically looked at a bunch of kid shows. This is not like tiaras and toddlers and tiaras. This is like Disney shit, Netflix shit, Hulu shit. Examples. They said every show, they said female characters were more likely to be sexualized than male, an average of 24 instances of sexualization per episode. This is pervasive. So this lady says, I'm going to make a fucking movie about it. It's important. She says, I saw these girls doing this dance scene in Paris, and that's what inspired me, because it was crazy that they were doing this overtly sexual stuff. So the only thing that you can really argue about is, was that the best way? I would argue it is, because in being disturbing, it works. Let me show you the end of this movie. I'm just going to show you frames so I don't get any copyright stuff. This is why this movie is beautiful, and why it is important, and why it is tragic that people are just... I had a guy I respect, a guy I like a lot, who follows us on the stream and on Twitter last night, who's like, he wouldn't even hear of it. He won't watch it. He won't look at it. It's like, I get it, buddy. You're not a pedophile. I'm not a pedophile either. Sometimes it seems like some people, not this guy, but some people protest so much that it's like, dude, what? Yes, no one, unless you're fucked up in the head, supports exploitation of kids, let alone fucking kids. You don't have to shout from the mountaintops. We get it. You're not a creep. I'm not either. We're good, okay? But look, this movie has important things to say. At the end of the movie, and I'm going to spoil it. It's not like it's fucking Marvel or anything. It's a slow burn drama. This is her dance outfit that's hypersexualized. This is the outfit she has from at the beginning for her dad's wedding. Her dad is absent. His dad is marrying another woman. The mom is beside herself, but she's trying to fake it, and the daughter knows it. So she's not getting properly raised at the moment. And they buy her this sort of very traditional Muslim dress for the wedding. And at the end, she's like, you know what? I'm rejecting that. I don't want that. And she's rejecting that. At the end of the movie, she's in tears over this. She's on stage and she realizes for the first time, holy shit, what the fuck am I doing? And she runs off stage and she goes home and embraces her mom. And her mom finally is there for her. And she says, fuck this shit and fuck this shit. And at the end of the movie, hang on. At the end of the movie, this is what she's wearing. And the end of the movie is absolutely beautifully heartbreaking. At the end of the film, she says, I'm going to basically be a tween again. She's dressing in a way that is not overtly sexual, but it's not overtly traditional to some old way of thinking. She's jumping rope, but she's still clearly a girl who's becoming a woman. And at the end of the movie, it's this beautiful shot where she's jumping rope. I don't know how they did this shot, because this wasn't a big budget film. And the camera pushes in on her, and every time she's jumping rope, she gets higher and higher, and the camera keeps going up with her. So it's almost like they slid a trampoline under her off the camera, and she just keeps rising into the sky, almost as if her spirit is being lifted. It is absolutely beautiful, and you get this great shot of her radiant face at the very end, which I'm not going to be able to stop on, but it's beautiful. It's fucking beautiful. Oh, Cuties is terrible. Can't watch that. How dare you talk about Cuties? You're a pedophile. No, I'm just not willing to make up my mind because somebody goes on Fox News or CNN or MSNBC and tells me what I should think. I'm willing to basically keep an open fucking mind. All right. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. I lean towards a shocking documentary being a better choice. Trey, you could be right, but I mean, look, let's be clear. You have that. There's your shocking documentary. It hasn't worked. Your shocking documentary is the fact that Cardi B has the #1 song in America with a song called Wet Ass Pussy, which I guarantee you 13, 14, 12-year-old kids are singing. Maybe that isn't the best tact. I'm going to go to the chat, but then I want to show you this woman who is the director of the motion picture. If you hear this and you still have a problem, then I respect that. But, I mean, this is not some creepy pedophile lady who wants to exploit children. This is someone who clearly has her heart in the right place. and is like, look, this is an important message. This is a feminist film. It is an empowering film. Metallic says, the fact is they subjected minors to this to make it, which is wrong. I don't know about that. I don't know if you're right about that. I think, yes, Cuties has a message. It's a beautiful fucking message. I don't know if you're right about that. Here's what I would say you're right, Metallic. I would say you're 100% right on that. If what you're saying is those kids on that set were treated poorly, they were scarred, they were damaged, they were treated in such a way that they might as well have been in a fucking pedo porn. I would agree with you 100%. But that's not, when you look at this interview, which I'll show you in a second, that's not what this set looked like. Their parents were there. It was a nurturing set. A lot of times this director says, I had them do things like growl like an animal. And then I slowed it down in the footage and I put crazy music behind it. And for you, as an adult, you go, oh, that's overtly sexual. The kid was just going, rawr, I'm being an animal. There's tricks directors use, which is not to say, which is absolute. Let me give you an example of a scene in the film, okay? I understand they're unable to consent, but you're basically saying, Chris says they're minors, they're unable to consent, even legally. I understand that. That's what their parents and guardians are for. Kids are in movies and TV all the time, okay? So there's a scene in the movie where, I mean, this girl is fucked up. She's fucked up for a while in this movie. She finds a cell phone because in her tradition, they don't give her a cell phone, and it opens up the world to her in all kinds of good and horrible ways. At one point, she is so determined to break out of her Muslim tradition family, and she wants this dance group to do well. She's going to lose her cell phone. So in an act of desperation, the last thing she can do is she goes into a bathroom, she locks the door, she pulls her pants down, she takes a picture of her vagina, and she uploads it to Instagram, and then she gives the phone back to the person she stole it from. Now, obviously, we don't see this. It all happens off camera, okay? Well, people are losing their shit over it, and it's like, Jesus Christ, that is important. Do you know how many fucking kids are sexting? Hell, Chris Evans, he's an adult, but he just sent out dick pics yesterday. Kids do this shit. Teenagers do this shit, and God forbid, horribly, tweens do this shit. The woman is making a movie and saying, look, America, look, parents, look, adults, this is what's happening out there. You can turn a blind eye to it and pretend, hubbub, or you can say, shit, this is pretty horrible. This is pretty fucking horrible. We need to step in and raise our kids better. I'm going to show you this goddamn thing. Were the kids aware, says Michael, of what kind of movie they were making? If not, I have a problem with it. I don't know. The parents have to have been. I'm sure the kids weren't 11, by the way. The lead actress was 14, which is still a minor. Still doesn't excuse anything if you're opposed to it. But I'm sorry. Let me show you the video. I'll shut up. I usually talk during videos. This is important for you to hear from this woman. And then we'll talk about it. I'll let the chat have the last word. This is the director of the motion picture. Yeah, she was 14. I don't know if it changes a lot, Panda. I mean, she's still a minor, but yeah, the actress was 14. Okay, here we go.
My name is Maimouna Doucouré and I'm the director of Cuties. D'accord. Première de caméra. Okay. Cuties is the story of an 11-year-old little girl who is trying to find herself. She's navigating between two models of femininity. One represents her mother's traditional origins, and the other one is a group of young girls called Cuties. I had the idea of Cuties when one day during a neighborhood gathering in Paris, a group of very young dancers came on the stage and they were dancing like what we are used to seeing in a video clip. And I was surprised because of the age. They were only 11 years old. So I decided to spend the next year and a half doing research. I met with hundreds of preteens who told me their story. I needed to know how they felt about their own femininity in today's society and how they dealt with their self-image at a time when social media is so important. Our girls see that the more a woman is overly sexualized on social media, the more she is successful. And the children just imitate what they see, trying to achieve the same result without understanding the meaning. And yeah, it's dangerous. I recreate the little girl who I was at that age, growing up in two cultures, is what gave me the strength and the values I have today. I can appreciate my double culture and live between my parents' one, which is Senegalese, and my French Western one. And as a child, that question of how to become a woman was my obsession. I saw so many injustices around me that women were experiencing, and I kept all of that anger inside me. I was powerless when I was a child. Today, I can use my voice, my art, to share my vision of femininity, my fight for women's freedom in society and in our minds as well. I put my heart into this film because this is my story. I believe that cinema and art in general can change the world. We are able to see oppression of women in other cultures. But my question is, isn't the objectification of women's body that we often see in our Western culture not another kind of oppression? In my research, I saw that pre-teenagers are caught in a difficult transition. Their body is constantly changing, and at this age, especially when you are a girl, it can be complicated to find your place and deal with your body that is transforming itself in spite of what you want. You are a child, but you are also coming into teenagerhood. This age is amazing because you have all this innocence and naivety, and you interpret the world with all the unlimited imagination that you have at that age. And this is beautiful, but at the same time, because of our societal structures, children can so easily access a lot of adult materials. In the film, my main character, Amy, can feel the suffering of her mother and yet see that her mother does not take action. So Amy just takes that revolt inside herself and believes she can find her freedom through that group of dancers and their hypersexualization. But is that really true freedom, especially when you are a kid? Of course not. Amy will, at the end, understand that she can choose her own path. The real question of Cuties is, can we as women truly choose who we want to be beyond the role models that are imposed upon us by society? I grew up in a Muslim culture and I respect and love. In my films, the characters are evolving in that culture. We are used to seeing Islam depicted by so many stereotypes in movies and media. In Cuties, I depict the point of view of Amy's mother, who thinks that she has to accept all that is happening to her. But we get to see an imam who comes and say, no, in our religion, women have rights. It was very important for me to show that forgotten but true aspect of Islam. Cuties is a deeply feminist film with an activist message. We must all together to figure out what is the best for our children. As a director, as an artist, I'm doing my part with this film. Politicians, the education system, parents, children. I think all together we have to fix what's gone wrong so we can give the most beautiful space to our girls and boys to grow up safely and become the best version of themselves. My film Cuties is a mirror of today's society, a mirror sometimes difficult to look into and accept, but still so true. We can blame our children for what we value in our society. I hope that people can become 11 years old during an hour and a half of Cuties in our world. In many ways, Amy is navigating her way in three cultures: her family, French Western culture, and this hyper-real fiction of social media. Yeah. try to experience how difficult and confusing it must be to grow up and find yourself in this triple culture.
Okay, so look, I'll get to the chat. There's some interesting stuff you guys said. But I mean, so at this point, I think the only discussion, in my opinion, about this film that's worth discussing, and I'll discuss whatever the fuck you want, but is it problematic that they used 14-year-old girls to represent this? I think that really depends. I think, the set and they're not going to show you an awful set in a PR reel, but assuming the set was as nurturing and loving as it looked there, assuming the parents consented, I think the power that comes from the disturbing imagery, especially because the kids weren't harmed, assuming we can say that, I think it makes sense. I understand the value of it, but I can respect that debate. But the fact that people are acting like this is, think about, goodness gracious, don't you understand the bigger problem? Think about how fucked we are as a society. That we can't even, God, doesn't it bother you that we can't even have the discussion? We can't even sit there and go, hey, there's this movie called Cuties, and it's weird because if you actually watch it, it's about important things. And maybe there's a discussion to be had about, is the way they chose to communicate that the right way or the wrong way, especially given the film wasn't even made in puritanical America. It was made in France. But regardless, we can't have that discussion. It's literally become, it's a porno, it's pedophile. We need to cancel Netflix. We need to have the law step in. And when I talk to people, I'm not going to watch that. I'm like, well, have you watched it? I'm not going to, no, I'm not going to watch that. It's like, really? You're not going to watch that? You're going to complain about it. You're going to say the law needs to step in. You're going to have no problem shouting your opinion from the rooftops, but you're not going to watch that? Huh. That says more about you. That says more about the level of shit discourse we have in this country, that we can't even look at a film that is important, that is well made, that is in many ways very heartfelt. I loved this movie. I thought it was really good. It was boring for a while, and then it was really good. I agree with somebody in the chat that said, it's weird at the end, she just comes to this revelation of like, what the fuck am I doing? I agree with you. I didn't get the arc. It was like, well, why did she just suddenly wake up on stage and go, this is a problem? But other than that, I was like, wow, it's interesting. It's different. It's important. I agree. Wrath says right-wing Twitter had a field day. And again, they have a right to have a field day, but for the love of God, get educated, watch the fucking movie, and then let's hear it. Metal Hendrix, thank you so much for the super chat. He says, and it's all in the eye of the beholder. If you find the movie arousing, you should get some help. Right. The movie was made to empathize, which we need more of. Right. That, I hate to say it, but sometimes I wonder, again, going back to that, he doth protest too much. I believe that was Shakespeare. I probably just mangled the quote, but it's like, okay, we get it. You're not a pedophile. Relax. I never once, when I watched this movie last night, was like, oh my God, someone's going to find out I was watching Cuties. Oh my God, what does that mean? It's like, I'm not a fucking pedophile. I don't find children arousing. Don't worry about it. If you do, I'm sorry, that's really bad. And I don't think you're an awful person. I think you're an awful person if you act on it. And ideally, you'll go to a doctor and get some medicine that totally suppresses your sexuality. Because I'm sorry, it's unacceptable and it's awful and it's akin to murder when you do that to a child. It's horrible. But short of that, yeah, if you're a pedophile, that's a problem. But this isn't about pedophiles. There's one guy in the movie that clearly has a little bit of like, hey, I like what I'm seeing. And the kids are like, what the fuck's wrong with you, you fucking weirdo? And they call him a pedophile. It's not about a movie about pedophiles at all. Sweetness says, well, aren't you going to talk about the scene where the girl, this Amy girl, tries to have sex with someone to keep her phone? She doesn't. Yeah, but I'll talk about it. There's a scene where the guy comes back to take his phone back that she stole it from. And she's so desperate to hold on to her social media, which has given her life meaning and given her a sense of power, that she slowly starts to take off her jacket and sort of be seductive with him. Like, hey, I'll basically have sex with you. She doesn't know what she's doing. And the guy immediately is like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? And she runs off and closes the door or something. Or she runs into the bathroom, right? She basically is like, she's not being sexy because she literally wants to have sex at all, let alone with the grown-up. She's being sexy or trying to show off her sexuality because she's watching videos like this. And she's like, oh, I guess this is where female power comes from because that's what social media is telling me. But people just, I don't know. I mean, I do know. People want money. We live in a capitalist society. It's unregulated. People are scared. People say, I can get clicks if I do this. I'm Tucker Carlson. I'm Ben Shapiro. I'm Rachel Maddow. Whatever. I can get clicks if I keep people angry and divided. Let me show you this fucking thing. This is a video right now on YouTube. Cuties Defenders, of which I am. This guy says, I am disgusting filth. Me. I am disgusting filth because I'm sitting here telling you this is a really good movie. A great critic today, a guy named Drew McWeeny, who is not a reviewer, but he is a critic, and he's a great one. He used to write for Ain't It Cool News, and he wrote for Hitflix. Now he has his own deal going on. Wonderful fucking critic of movies, very much in the Roger Ebert school. Says the film is great. It's sitting at an 89-90 Rotten Tomatoes. Most people who see the film actually say this is a great movie, but apparently I'm disgusting filth. Of course it's clickbait. Of course it's clickbait, Eternal, because the guy doesn't really care. Tucker Carlson doesn't really care. No one wants discourse. No one wants discussion. No one wants debate. This live stream is clickbait? How? I'm sitting here saying, how many times? How many times have I said I'm more than willing to be wrong? There was a guy who called in and educated me on what was happening in Venezuela. I don't have to fucking be right. I don't have an agenda other than I want people to stop being such assholes to each other. Did I see the nasty film critic saying the girls were hot? I did see that. That's what this one guy was like. This one guy said, okay, well, Music is Passion says, sorry, Jaffe, the message is right, the production is wrong. I respect that. I don't agree with you, but I respect that. And we can have a discussion, and we can have a debate, and we can have a conversation about it, and maybe you'll convince me, maybe I'll convince you, but at the end of the day, we both agree at least, hey, you know what? It's an important message. But you know what? The one thing Drew McWeeny said, he's like, okay, but if you really feel that way, then why isn't Tucker Carlson? Why isn't this guy? Why isn't Ted Cruz? Why aren't you, for that matter, upset about the song WAP? Why aren't you upset that the number one song in America is Wet Ass Pussy? Why aren't you upset right now that you can turn on TV and find beauty pageants with 6-year-olds that are basically made to look like little tiny versions of fucking women? If you're really upset about it, I respect that. But I need to know you're really upset about it, and you need to be consistent with your anger. But a lot of times you're not. You're upset about it and you move on. I agree, Sweetness. The Wet Ass Pushy song is trash. The beauty pageants are trash. Yeah, you're right. But why? Where's the complaints about those? Suddenly it's cuties that gets the complaints? That's all I'm fucking saying. This is what Drew says. Drew says, you want to address the issues? Turn your attention to pageant industry in the country and dismantle that. Those are real children who are actually being exploited. Look at the reality TV industry around the pageant world. By the way, my brother worked for the company that made Honey Boo Boo and I think Toddlers and Tiaras, and that guy quit. He said, I won't be a part of this. I'm proud of my brother for walking out on that because he said, this is crazy. But those are real children who are actually exploited. Look at the reality TV industry. Dismantle that. Go deal with the real problem and I'll believe it matters to you. But when all of your anger, this is Drew talking, but when all of your anger is reserved for something like the movie Cuties, and when most of the people who are angry refuse to even see the movie they claim is so dangerous and offensive, it's clear the information is the real enemy in our culture right now. There you go. There you fucking go. People talking about the movie, but they're not talking about kids being used and abused in sports. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole way that you could prove to the world that you really are an advocate of kids and kids' mental health and kids' physical health and of being against sex trafficking and all that. There's a whole fucking way. It ain't that. Let me fucking tell you something. I'm going to toot my own fucking horn for 1 second, okay? Friend of the stream, great guy. Love when he calls in. By the way, the Discord's open if you want to talk about this on live before we shut down. James Gilchrist called in once with a great story about how he used to be an incel. I love this story. It used to be up on the stream. And he went to Mexico and slept with a bunch of prostitutes. And in that, he realized a lot of things about himself and found his own self-confidence and started to really respect women. It was a good story. And I knew that if I titled the story A Cure for Incels, it would get more clicks. And it did. But I absolutely made sure that at the preamble, which if you look at the viewers on that stream or on that video, I lose about 60% of my audience because I do this preamble where I say, hey, the story you're about to hear is great. It's funny. It's meaningful to this guy and it's a good story. But let's talk for a couple of seconds about the sex trafficking industry and prostitution and how when a woman or a man wants to go into that line of work of their own volition, that's great. But I don't want to do a funny prostitution story and not at least point out the fact that a lot of these women, especially in Mexico, are basically sort of sex slaves, right? So you gotta fucking be willing to put your desire to be rich aside for a few fucking minutes and go, you know what? What's the right thing to do? What's the fucking right thing to do? Wrath says, Jaffe, do you think the guy on YouTube who said it turned him on? Okay, so the guy on YouTube, this was interesting. This was absolutely fascinating to me. Jaffe, how can any sexually active adult be upset or complain about WAP? No. What I'm saying is, if you are complaining about cuties and you also don't complain that kids are listening to WAP, WAP is not something that only adults can hear. WAP is the #1 song in America. The video, I think, has hundreds of millions of views. It's got 192 million views. This is not like, oh, only 18 and over has watched this. So what I'm saying is if you're really concerned about the message of cuties, then go all the way. Be a little concerned that kids are exposed to this all day long and you don't give a shit. I'm not saying the song's not good for adults is what I'm fucking saying. So the guy that we're talking about on YouTube, he says, look, these girls who are 14, I think his experiment was if you sat in a chair and one of these girls gave you a lap dance and if you got a boner, you would get shot in the head and die. It was a very strange scenario. I was like, wow, that's detailed, sir. If you got a boner, you'd get shot in the head and die. But if you didn't get a boner, which would prove that you're not a pedophile, you'd get $1 million. And he asked the guy, he says, would you take that bet? And the guy just kind of poo-pooed him off. But his point was, that's all I saw. I saw a clip. The point though, and it is important and it is a very uncomfortable movie to watch. And it's a very uncomfortable movie to talk about because we rightly so put pedophiles almost at the top, if not the top, of the worst boogeymen that our society and our species have to offer. But it's not wrong to say when you have the way the movie presents these girls, and maybe that's why people are so upset, because they can't settle in with the fact that it's uncomfortable. It is supposed to be uncomfortable. It's not like, look, it's very different when you look at this. When you look at, this isn't uncomfortable. This is just wrong. This is just gross and weird and strange, right? What the guy was saying is when you have a girl, these girls are developed. They look like young women. They don't look like they're 25, but they don't look like they're 8. They're developed. They have boobs. They have butts, right? And what he was basically saying badly is that to watch that is very uncomfortable. It's very disturbing. And I think my point is it's supposed to be disturbing. If you make it palpable, if you make it something that doesn't push your buttons and make you go, I don't like seeing this. There were times watching the movie I had to look away. It was very, it's like, I don't want to see that. Yeah.
When you're done streaming, you can eat a pizza.
Absolutely. Go heat up the oven to 400.
Okay.
I didn't want to see it. That's why when people say, oh, they shouldn't have filmed this with real kids, what I'm suggesting is the power of the film, because it's disturbing, because it's wrong, because it's gross, because it's uncomfortable, perhaps allows the film to communicate the message better, is what I'm saying. That's all I'm fucking saying. Cyclown says, I can definitely tell you people can't handle being uncomfortable. No, they can't. That's the problem. Hey, what about this instead of complaining about the movie? What about Killer Hornets? Yeah, okay, Bacon. John Moore says, pop music... Oh, that's not relevant to what we're talking about. Come on, Jaffe. Find something to read. Find something to read that's relevant. Renton says, Jaffe, would you have allowed your own 14-year-old daughter to perform in this movie? Well, my 14-year-old kids, when they were 14, were pretty precocious kids. They were smart people. I would have sat down with them. I would have read the script. We would have talked about it. I would have talked to the director. I would have been on the set every single moment. And if my kids felt, even at 14, that, and I would have said, hey, this will be with you your whole life, we would have had the answer is I don't know. I think it would have depended on how engaged my kid was with the subject material. I know both my kids are very engaged with the issue of sex trafficking, especially here in San Diego. They're aware of it. Obviously, they're opposed to it. They talk about it online. They look out for it when they're on airplanes and stuff. They're not kids that are like, what? What do you mean they use kids for sex? They're aware. I think it would have been a case by case basis for sure, because it may have been an issue of this is something important. If they believed in it and I was there and it was safe and I believed in the director, in the vision, I would have said, look, here's the deal. The film now, I get you. Some people are upset who haven't watched it. This is a very powerful, important film about femininity, feminism, women taking their power back, women rejecting social media, women also rejecting tradition that doesn't work for them. It's a powerful film about growing up. Knowing if I knew now that my kid would have been engaged with a film that ultimately I think will stand the test of time, then I would say if they wanted to be in it, I would say yeah. Eternal says San Diego has sex trafficking. Every tragically city has sex trafficking, but since we're close to Mexico, it's worse down here. I understand Metallic. It's not the point. Again, I'm not going to shit on you for that view. Your view is it doesn't matter. They were minors. Anytime you put a minor in a situation that has any hint of sexuality, it's bad. And my answer to you is that I think it depends. Kids on the Disney Channel kiss each other. Is that bad? Right? Where's your line? Here's a movie that's intended to show how horrible this is. You think that's bad. I think it could be bad. I'm open-minded to your point of view, but it could also be important. A lot of people are happy about how much Trump has gone after child sex traffickers. I'm not aware of what he's done, but if he has, I think that's fantastic. Okay, do we want to move on from cuties? I have one more topic. Nobody's calling in, so I'm not going to take any calls right now unless you want to call in. You're welcome, Rintin. Okay, so... cancel Disney Channel, right? Yeah, my kids used to watch it all the time. Only thing I'm aware of is sometimes so-called escorts or prostitutes. So that's true. Most of them are, I would imagine. Who would call an escort not a prostitute? Why would you want one, not the other? If you're going to go all in, go all in. I want to show you something. We're going to switch gears. Okay, you guys know, if you watch the stream from time to time, I am a atheist, agnostic, depends on the day you catch me. Okay, I want to show you something I saw on the internet the other day. This will be quick. We're not going to spend too much time on this, but I want to show you this. I saw this on the internet the other day, and my immediate thought was, okay, hang on. I'm sorry. Metallic says, I still need to address the camera angles on the dance scenes. What am I addressing? It was shot to be evocative. It was shot to be disturbing. I don't know what you want me to say. It was meant to make you uncomfortable, and it did. Mission accomplished. Okay. I watched this on the internet. Let me go back to the beginning of it. And I immediately after watching it, it was so sad. And I was like, there is no God. That was the first thing that came into my mind. there is no God. It could be like Pretty Woman where he just wants her company. He fucks the shit out of Julia Roberts and fucking Pretty Woman. What are you talking about? See the same movie? Okay, listen to me. Random says, I'll admit I appreciate the info on Cuties, Jaffe. I still strongly disagree with the entire idea, but at least the ending has hope. Absolutely. That's all I want is just a conversation. A conversation without people being mad at each other. Let's get our fucking country and our work. Like I said, let's go to Mars. Let's invent things that let us upload our brains to a computer. Let's fix cancer. Let's get rid of Alzheimer's. Can you imagine how much we'd get done if we stopped fighting with each other? My God. Let's make it so that you can make all the money in the world, but at the same time, no one's homeless. Come on. Okay. Look at this goddamn thing. This made me say there is no God. You tell me what you think, and then I'll show you something else. Because I changed my mind. But at first, I'm like, there's no God. It's broke my heart. Look at this fucking thing. So she goes back to see where her kid is. Look at that. Look at that. Stupid fucking duck. She lost all of her babies. She lost every... Now, what is that duck going to do? It is heartbreaking. I know we're joking around. It's just an animal. She's beside herself. She's lost every one of her children. It's not a simulation. She has lost every one of her babies. There's no God. There's no God. Right? That's what I thought. And then I decided to keep clicking in the thread. Look at this shit. This is what happened afterwards. Hang on. There's the duck looking for her baby. She won't leave. She won't leave. But some guy goes down there and gets the ducks out. Someone goes down there and gets the ducks out. Look at that. And after I saw this, I said, you know what? You know that? Here I am sitting here saying there is no God. And there still may not be. But it was interesting that immediately afterwards, I click on this and it's like, no, there might be, Jaffe. There might be. And now I'm back to being agnostic. So I wanted to share that. Fellas, listen. This has been fun. I do this every Sunday. I hope you'll join me next week when we talk about who the fuck knows. The world will be coming apart at the seams. But we will be here to talk about it and discuss it. Now, let me give you some updates. Okay, that's the stream, though. So if you're done, we're done with the stream. That's the stream. But look, let me give you some updates. Next week, we'll do a political stream as always. These streams will go up on the Discord. They will not be on YouTube. They will be up as unlisted links on the YouTube on the Discord. This week's stream and last week's stream. I do not want the Gabbin' and Gaming channel to have any politics on it. It's just games. So later tonight or tomorrow, these will go up on the Discord. Last week's, this week's. Forevermore, that's where they will live. Okay, that's A. B, tomorrow there is no stream. Tomorrow is an edit day. I will be around. I'll be online. I'll be tweeting, but I'm editing. We had a bunch of great shows last week. I'm putting videos out and editing videos for the week for YouTube. Tuesday is a stream. At the moment, we might be doing all the PAX games. There's a bunch of demos that PAX has, or we might do something else. Wednesday is the Sony conference. No, Wednesday is the Sony conference at 1 o'clock, special time. Tuesday's 3 o'clock. I'll put all this up on the internet. Thursday is a game. I don't know what it is. Friday, unless it gets terrible reviews, we're going to be doing WWE 2K Battlegrounds, which is the Smash Brothers meets WWE. If the reviews are good, that's what we're doing. If you happen to get it, maybe we can go online and fight each other if it has crossplay. But in the meantime, have a good rest of your day. Have a good week. I'll see you not tomorrow. It's a dark day tomorrow, but I'll see you Tuesday, hopefully at 3 o'clock, Gabbin' and Gaming. Thank you guys. Rob the Mod, thank you for all the super chats. Thank you. I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.